Someone is influencing your decisions right now. Not a politician, not an advertisement, someone in your personal life. And the most unsettling part, you're letting them do it because you don't recognize the signs. These tactics don't feel like manipulation. They feel like love, concern, or honesty. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what these tricks look like so you can finally see them for what they are. We like to believe we're in control of our own minds, that our thoughts are ours. Our choices are ours. But psychology tells us something very different. Influence is invisible by design. The most effective forms of control don't look like control at all. They feel natural, even comforting. And once you understand how these patterns work, you can never unsee them. That's both the power and the burden of this knowledge. These aren't fringe theories. They're documented psychological phenomena studied by researchers for decades, found in toxic relationships, manipulative workplaces, even in families. The people using them may not always be consciously aware they're doing it. That's what makes them so effective. Understanding them isn't about becoming paranoid, it's about reclaiming your ability to think clearly and choose freely. Let's start with trick number one. Trick number one is called gaslighting. It's one of the most widely misunderstood terms in psychology, so let's be precise. Gaslighting is when someone systematically causes you to question your own memory, perception, or sanity. It often starts small. That never happened. You're overreacting. You're too sensitive. Over time, you stop trusting yourself. You defer to the other person, and that's exactly the point. Trick two is intermittent reinforcement, and it may be the most powerful psychological force behind addictive relationships. When someone rewards you inconsistently, warmth followed by coldness, praise followed by silence, your brain doesn't detach. It becomes obsessed. This is the same mechanism behind slot machines. Unpredictability keeps you hooked. You keep trying to recapture the good moments, and the person controlling the pattern holds enormous power. Trick three is love bombing. It's used at the start of relationships, romantic, professional, even friendships. The person floods you with attention, compliments, and affection. You feel uniquely seen, uniquely special. But the intensity is disproportionate. It's not genuine connection, it's a rapid installation of emotional debt. By the time they start pulling back or making demands, you're already deeply attached, already trying to return to that initial high. Trick four is DARVO. Deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. When you confront someone about harmful behavior, they deny it happened, attack your character or motives, then position themselves as the real victim. The conversation flips. Suddenly you're apologizing. Suddenly you're comforting the person who hurt you. This is not an accident. It's a pattern, and it's one of the most sophisticated psychological maneuvers in the playbook. DARVO works because it exploits empathy. If you genuinely care about being fair and not hurting people, you'll naturally pause when accused of being the problem. That pause, that moment of self-questioning, is what the pattern relies on. The antidote isn't defensiveness. It's grounding yourself in what you actually observed and experienced. Naming the pattern out loud often disrupts it entirely. Awareness really is power here. Trick five is future faking, making promises about the future with no intention of keeping them. We'll fix this. I'll change. Things will be different. These statements buy time and prevent you from making clear decisions about the relationship. The future is always just out of reach, and you remain waiting instead of choosing. Future faking is patience weaponized against you. Trick six is triangulation, bringing a third person into a dynamic to provoke jealousy, insecurity, or competition. A comment about an ex, a comparison to a colleague, an offhand mention of someone who really understands them. The goal isn't to actually pursue someone else, it's to destabilize you, to make you feel replaceable, so you work harder to secure the relationship. It keeps you anxious. Anxious people are easier to control. Trick seven is minimizing, and its cumulative effect is significant. Minimizing is when your feelings, concerns, or experiences are consistently dismissed or compared unfavorably to others. It wasn't that bad. Lots of people have it worse. You always make everything such a big deal. Over time, you stop expressing what you feel. You edit yourself before you speak. You've been trained, quietly and consistently, to take up less space. None of these tricks operate in isolation, they tend to cluster. Where you find gaslighting, you often find minimizing. Where you find love bombing, intermittent reinforcement usually follows. This clustering is itself meaningful. It signals a pattern of control rather than isolated moments of poor communication. Recognizing the pattern is not about assigning blame. It's about seeing the full picture, clearly, without the distortion these tactics are designed to create. What do you do with this knowledge? First, trust your perceptions. One of the core effects of these tactics is that they erode your ability to trust yourself. Rebuilding that starts with a simple habit, writing down what actually happened in the moment before the reframing begins. A journal, a note in your phone, your raw experience before someone else's narrative overwrites it. Your memory is worth protecting. Second, name what you're experiencing. Not necessarily to the person doing it, but to yourself, and if possible, to someone you trust outside the dynamic. Isolation is a key feature of most controlling relationships. The tactics only work in the dark. Bringing them into the light, speaking them plainly, disrupts their power. You don't need certainty. You just need one trusted person who can reflect your experience back without distortion. Third, recognizing these patterns doesn't make you a victim. It makes you perceptive. These psychological tactics work on intelligent, empathetic, thoughtful people, not because those people are weak, but because those qualities are being exploited. Compassion, fairness, and self-reflection are strengths. Understanding this reframes the narrative from "how did I fall for this" to "what does this reveal about the other person?" Why do we miss these patterns in real time? Because we're too close to them. In psychology, this is known as the inside view problem. Embedded in a situation, we lose access to the broader pattern. Stepping back and asking "what would I think if a friend described this to me" can be enormously clarifying. Distance creates perspective, and perspective creates choice. Dark psychology isn't exotic. It happens in ordinary homes, ordinary offices, ordinary friendships. The people involved are not cartoon villains. They're often people in their own pain who learned these patterns as survival strategies and never examined them. Understanding that doesn't mean you have to stay. It doesn't mean you have to forgive. But it does mean you can see clearly, and clear sight is the foundation of every healthy choice you'll make. If this resonated, I go much deeper into psychology and human behavior every week on Mind Decoded. I write about the patterns most people sense but can't name, and how understanding them changes the way you move through the world. The link to the blog is in the description below. And subscribing to the channel means you'll never miss an episode. This is exactly the kind of conversation we keep having here. Let's recap. Gaslighting erodes your trust in your own memory. Intermittent reinforcement creates emotional addiction. Love bombing installs dependency early. DARVO flips accountability. Future faking keeps you waiting. Triangulation creates insecurity, and minimizing trains you to take up less space. None of these are your fault. All of them are recognizable. And now that you can see them, you have something that matters enormously. You have a name for what you've been feeling. Subscribe to Mind Decoded. Every week we decode human psychology, behavior, and the patterns most people never notice. If today's video gave you language for something you've experienced, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Understanding these patterns is the first step towards something better. I'll see you in the next one.